All right, guys, got a Phoenix 21 Elite. I believe this is a 20-year model. Getting ready to add a harness in here, along with we're actually going to be putting a Boat Logix triple mount and adding a third graph up the front with 360. Boat right now has 3 Solixes and a Garmin with live scope. One thing I want to show you guys is this boat has Lithium Pros batteries in it on the 36 and 12 volt side. You can see right here our battery sitting right at 12.9 volts. Now, one thing to note, this is under a load. I have all the graphs powered up right now. So we're sitting at 12.9 volts. You can see our multimeter probes are right on the terminal outpost of that Lithium Pros battery. One thing I want to show you guys is the remarkable amount of voltage drop throughout this system. You can see we're down to 11 volts on this console Solix 15. We're down to 11.8 volts at this console Solix 12. At the bow, our Garmin is at 12.2 volts off of the module. And let me see if I can find the multimeter there. We're at 11.5, 11.6 volts off of the Solix 15 at the front. As you can see, that's a pretty extensive amount of voltage drop, and a lot of that has to do with our Phoenix factory wiring off of that Blue Sea panel right there. Those Blue Sea panels are great for your traditional accessories. The problem here is the way Phoenix distributes power into that block. Not thick enough gauge wire, goes through that relay assembly, and then you've got a large load across that system, which is why we're seeing really varying voltage all over the place. I'm willing to bet if we were to crank this motor that these console units that are down in the lower 11s, possibly throughout the day, probably have a dim out symptom due to low voltage. I can tell just playing with the units earlier, they were very sluggish. So we are getting ready to put our harness in here, add a third graph. We're going to leave the single 12 volt Lithium Pro back here. And after we're done with the harness, we should see almost mirrored voltage across the whole system. So I figure I'd do this before video on this 21 Elite Phoenix. And we're going to get started on this thing and get you guys a video after we're done. Just finished getting our harness put in this 921 Elite. Also added a 5th graph. Wanted to show you guys the immediate results we saw with the voltage consistencies. As you can see, battery's at 12.9 volts. I have that right off the terminals. If you remember before in our prior video, we were seeing extensive voltage drop immediately at the console area. You can see now on both graphs, we're mirroring voltage within a 0.1 to 0.2 variance from the battery. Moving to the bow, same exact scenario, right at 12.7 volts. See our Garmin's at 13.0. For those that don't know, Garmin's typically have a little bit less draw on the unit, so you see a little bit higher voltage. That's also reading from the module. And then we actually added a triple mount up here at the front, added that helix in addition to the Solix 15 with the Garmin 102. Really clean setup. So you guys can see consistent voltage across the board. Solix units are operating as they should. A lot less lag than they had before. Pretty awesome setup. Pretty crazy to see the difference from the prior rigging to this rigging with the voltage differences. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.